Hello, everyone. This is Grant Henry from FastPivot.com. We're pleased to have you all joining us today for the session on measuring and maximizing social ROI. We've got several people today to speak with you about this concept and how to sort of take a few tactical measures and really putting some focus on social. We're going to try to take the full hour. We're going to save Q&A until the end. If you have any questions, you should see a box on the right for questions in your GoToWebinar panel, so feel free to throw those in there. If they're technical questions, we'll respond immediately. If they're questions for the panelists, we'll try to save them till the end. So again, we appreciate you guys joining, and I will hand it off to our CEO, Matt Ledford.
Thanks, Grant. Welcome to the FastPivot Measuring Maximizing Social ROI webinar with Addshoppers. We've been a part of a number of trends over the years, and social is one that just doesn't seem to go away. And if you don't know FastPivot, we serve some of the top stores, especially on the Yahoo platform. Part of what we'll talk about today, and this is just kind of high level, is attraction and engagement. Attraction and engagement are two key things that every business has to do. You have to attract them, ideally where they are, a lot of them are on social, and engage them. And then with the 3 C's of success, connecting, having conversion, different conversion events, and then getting their commitment, ideally, and loyalty. If you do well, you get reviews, you get positive feedback from your customers, and then they share your business. So welcome to the Measuring and Maximizing Social ROI webinar. With us today, I think you might have seen on the slide, Grant Henry. We also have Chad Ledford with Addshoppers, and Chip Oglesby, data analyst and Google professional with FastPivot. And so with that, I'm going to hand it to Grant Henry, who works with a number of our retainer clients managing social media campaigns, executing social strategy, and we'll share some of the successes there, give you some ideas, hopefully, and make it useful for you. And so, welcome, again, to the FastPivot, Measuring and Maximizing Social ROI with Addshoppers.
Thanks, Matt. I just want to talk to you guys about a few things. So, I'm sure you've all attended webinars or been to sessions before talking about the best way to kind of handle social in the e-commerce space. And a lot of what you guys hear has to do with engaging customers or your potential customer base in all of the different social channels that exist, all the ones you should take advantage of, trying to encourage conversation, trying to keep the dialogue going, trying to attract new people to the conversation. And this is a really good technique, and this is something that we encourage everyone to do. The problem is that this takes a whole lot of time. It takes a lot of personnel, it takes a lot of man hours, and it's really a full-time job trying to engage with your customers or potential customers on a daily basis. It's not saying that this is not important. It's incredibly important, but for this call, we wanted to talk about some more tactical things that you might be able to do that take less manpower, because we at FastPivot, we deal with some big brands. We also deal with startups and people that are trying to get their foot in the door in the social space and don't necessarily have the manpower to spend so much time in these social channels. So what I have here is 2 considerations. One is obviously you want to engage with your customers as regularly as possible in social channels. The second consideration is just to make sure your store is enabled to be more social. So what we mean by that is letting your customers be able to speak about your products easily. This is kind of the point we're going to cover. So the truth is, your store is already getting traffic. People are already purchasing products. Your store is already active. And so, what can we do to take advantage of this fact? So every like or share can really be considered free advertising for you guys. So every time someone likes or shares something on your site, whether it be an informational page or a product, that information is pushed directly into those people's live streams. When we say live streams, we mean Facebook feed, Twitter stream. So this is important, and it's incredibly valuable, and we want to keep this in mind. What is it we can do to make sure it's easy, and potentially there be an incentive to do this? just because it's something that you have available. And just because you don't have the ability to reach out constantly to them in social channels yourself, in many cases, we still want to make sure people are able to talk about you easily. So that's the kind of behavior we want to encourage. So many people are already familiar with tools such as AddThis, which is a little app that lets you kind of bundle some of the social buttons together to make it, to make it easy for people to share to their, social channel of choice. It's not, it's not difficult to pull some code from Facebook or from Twitter to put like buttons and other kinds of social buttons on your store, but that's really only the first step to really maximizing what this kind of interaction can do. There are other levels of customization to it to encourage people to share more, to improve the engagement, and directly affect core metrics at the end of the day. And we'll talk about what that might mean here in a minute. But AddThis is nice, and a lot of stores use it, but it is only it is a very lightweight version of the kinds of tools you guys actually have available that are pretty plug and play when you think about it and see what they have to offer. One of the things we're encouraging people to do now, and this is a part of why Addshoppers is with us, is offering incentives for social behavior. So if done the right way, if you incentivize a customer to actually help spread the word about your products, it can improve some core metrics. And I'll go into details about these here in a minute. But the idea is, ideally we can improve conversion, we can shorten time between purchases, and we can, help encourage our to help advertise by offering them incentive to do so. It's a nice perk, and we have the technology now to be able to offer those perks easily. So this is a client of ours. This is simplyyouthministry.com. They specialize in educational material for youth workers, and they're in a really good place because they their product line is already sort of the product line is the kind that people already want to engage each other about anyway. They're in constant communication with the people that use their products. They're a publisher. And so the dialogue is already wide open for them. And this is not the case with a lot of store owners. This, we're talking about, youth ministry tools. There's always open dialogue there. A lot of stores may be selling widgets. Maybe they're selling products that aren't quite as, prone to active conversation in the social space. That's a benefit that Simply Youth Ministry has, but that doesn't mean that we can't offer the customers a chance to talk about your products, even if it's ones you wouldn't necessarily engage them with or answer questions about. Doesn't mean that they don't like your products and want to share them with their friends. So a little more about Simply Youth Ministry. They, like I said, they're already used to engaging with customers that involve a team. This kind of product line encourages conversation anyway. But we want to be able to show you guys a way to let your customers share interest in your products that doesn't necessarily pull on your team to do more than you're able. Like I said earlier, speaking directly to your customer base as frequently as possible is obviously preferred, but there are a lot of other things you can also do to help supplement that. So Simply Youth Ministry previously had like the kind of standard like button, Twitter button configuration on their store prior to using the Addshoppers system, which has several different configurations. And I went and pulled some metrics, and it was great to see that after the launch of the Addshoppers tool, the base tool, the social engagement increased about 31% during the first quarter. That's compared to the previous quarter, and that's due to several different things. One, obviously the interface for Addshoppers is quite nice when people are using that to post to their walls, and you can design it a number of different ways. But there are also additional tools that Addshoppers has that we'll learn about here in a minute that can help help bump that up as well. So we're in the process right now of launching some incentive programs with SimplyYouthMinistry.com's customers with the intention of improving some specific metrics. So these are metrics that you normally don't think about when you think of perhaps a sharing tool. One is conversion. So by encouraging people to to share on your page by offering a perk of some kind, perhaps a coupon display. If people are interested in, sharing to get that coupon, the chance of getting a conversion is much higher at that point. They're reading about the product anyway, but if there's a way to pull a coupon that they would not have had otherwise, that is certainly an incentive. Another one is shortening time between the initial visit and purchase. This is a metric that we follow on occasion, and it's the same situation. We may not convert them on that visit, but they have, they have gotten their incentive, they've gotten their perk, and the idea is that they would be quicker to come back and complete purchase. And obviously, by offering this incentive, we're increasing the sharing rate of products and pages. So even if, in fact, they don't end up using the perk that we give them at first or at all, at least it has encouraged them to share the information that they're reading about, which is great. That's what we're looking for. We're also launching a post-transaction sharing, also with an incentive, with the idea of affecting a few other metrics. So one is reducing the time between purchases. So everyone is pretty familiar with the time between purchases for repeat customers. If we're offering them some sort of perk to come back with their next purchase, if they were to share what it is they bought, then that can easily reduce the time between purchases, especially if there's an expiration on that perk. The number of orders per customer is another one, and then obviously increasing the share rate of products as well, just because if they have purchased the product at that point, they would certainly be likely to perhaps share that if it's something they're really excited about. So, we do always encourage people to interact as much as they can with their customer base, and if anyone is interested in talking more about how that can work, we'd love to dive into a more personal dialogue with you about that. We just want everyone to know that there are some simple options for people to help make their store as social as possible, at least on the front end, and perhaps offer some incentives in the process to try and get people to sort of help advertise the store for them. So always keep in mind that there are more simple options for at least making sure the front end of your store is configured as possible. So that being said, we've brought in Chad Ledford with Addshoppers to talk a little bit about their tool set. They're a partner of ours that we've been really excited to showcase a bit more. And the timing is right with the kinds of tests we're doing with Simply Youth Ministry right now. So wanted to give Chad a chance to tell you guys a little more about some specifics around the kinds of things I've touched on. So with that, Chad, I think I'm going to hand it over to you, buddy.
Okay, great. Thanks for the intro, Grant.
No problem.
Yeah, so as Grant kind of laid out, this is a familiar scene on e-commerce sites. Most people will put in Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and email, and then you kind of hope customers click those, and then you hope that drives incremental traffic and more sales back to your store. But we really see that as step one. So the first step of our platform is to essentially replace these buttons and then run them through us. So as far as the look and feel of those buttons, they can look exactly how you see them here, or we can pretty much mimic anything that you already have. But the idea is once those are in place, you'll be given a dashboard like this that shows all the sharing activity that matters for e-commerce stores. So in this example, we can see that 10,000 people came to the site, they completed 384 shares, and that led to 198 sales for $7,000 revenue. So if you have multiple stores, you can manage everything from one place. And then the reporting also works on an influencer level. So once you're tracking this activity, you can sort by the influencers who are sharing the most or the ones who are driving the most sales, and you can actually dive into those users. So in this example, we can see that John has shared 16 times, and that led to 7 sales for $223 in revenue. And you can do the same thing at a SKU level. So I can click on sample product 2, and we can see everyone who shared this product And we also build out audience demographics at a SKU level, so we can see this is popular with females 25 to 34. So as I mentioned, it's all about measuring these things first, and then once you have this data, you can start putting it into action. You probably already have enough reporting and things that you're looking at, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the reporting side of it. But basically, you can think of this as a consolidated dashboard that shows all of the social activity that's happening on your site. So next step, how do we start putting this into action and getting it to drive more sales for your brand? So we'll walk through a couple of use cases. These guys were live on the platform for 30 days, and they learned that each share was worth $5 a share on average using our analytics. So now on their site, you see these floating share buttons over here on the left. So as a customer, you come here, you click Facebook, and then this pops up letting you know that you save $5 when you share on your wall. And then after that share is complete, you're given a coupon code that you can take to checkout. So this does two things. It obviously increases the amount of sharing that's happening on your site because people are going to share to get the coupon. But at the same time, it helps reduce your cart abandonment because they go into the cart with a coupon instead of sharing to not get a coupon. And here's another example of that. So these guys, directly above their coupon code box, they have 5% off when you share for coupon. So customer clicks here, they complete that same action, they share on their wall, and they're given the coupon code directly on the cart page. So as you can see over here on the right, this was really effective for them. They've had over 6,300 shares just from their cart page, and they've been live for maybe 6 months.
Very cool.
So a couple other examples. The way the platform's set up, we have the social analytics, which is step one, and it's as easy to install as Google Analytics. It's just one code that you drop into your footer. And then we have the ROI tracking that goes on your checkout success page. The smart buttons, that's what we just looked at. And as I mentioned, these can be completely customized. I can show you a couple examples here. These guys wanted black and gray buttons to match their site's look and feel. So you can see those over here on the right, and they wanted to customize the pop-up. And then we also provide a discovery wall. So this is kind of a new concept, but it's been proven on sites like Fab, and eBay has something similar on their homepage. Essentially the way it works is as people are sharing on your site, we're pulling in all of the products that are being shared in real time. And you can put this either on your home page or your product page. In this example, they put it on their home page. And as you can see, it shows the products that are being shared, where they were last shared on, and it becomes a more social and more engaging way to browse their catalog. And as a customer, you can also share directly from this wall.
You know, a lot of people put, we'll make bestsellers page. Or some other similar kind of page. This is something that can easily piggyback onto that. I mean, this is based on most shares, is that what you said?
Yeah, so you can either have it sorted by most shared or the products that have been the most recently shared.
Yeah.
And this can also be put on your Facebook page. So you can set up a new tab, and it's a way to drive traffic back to your store straight from Facebook. So basically, we kind of split our platform into 3 versions. There's the measure section, which is all about capturing this activity. And then the next step of that is creating social infrastructure on your site so that your site becomes more social and more engaging, which helps increase the amount of sharing and increase your conversion rate. So a couple of those other features are going to be social login. That's going to be sign in with Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and those sources. And we also power purchase sharing, which goes on your checkout success page. And what we found there is about 30% of all sharing happens after someone completes an order. So if you don't have sharing buttons on your checkout success page, you're missing out on basically free traffic. So even if you don't use us, I would encourage you to put sharing buttons on your success page. And then the last piece of the platform is where you can manage social campaigns to start influencing what people are doing on the site. So social rewards, we looked at that briefly in the Mountain Khakis example where you could share for a coupon, but you can also use it to power giveaways. So in this example, they have a subscription box service, and they want to increase the amount of sharing. So what they'll do is, step one, you sign in, and then after you're signed in, each share counts as an entry into the contest. And then at the end of a 30-day period or each month, they go into their influencers report and pick a winner out of that list. So it's a way to increase the sharing without giving away a coupon.
Very cool.
And we also have people using social rewards for refer a friend, so share to get $5 and your friend gets $5. And then the last two apps that we have and our newest apps are social retargeting and Facebook retargeting. So the idea here is if someone comes to your site, so if they go to Mountain Khakis, for example, and they complete a share, if I were to share this on Facebook and I don't place an order, I'm showing more intent than someone who just visits and looks at this product. So what we'll do is retarget those customers who share. And you can manage it directly from the back end. You just drop in your ad here and click go. And then we do everything else on the back end. And you can do the same thing for general web retargeting. You just upload your 3 banners, and then as people are sharing on your site, we're going to segment that group of users into a different cookie pool, and then we'll target them as they visit sites like CNN, LinkedIn, and all the various exchanges. So,
Jack, can you talk just a little bit about retargeting I'm sure most of the people here are familiar with what retargeting is, but what would you say is different, or what should people pay attention to regarding your particular retargeting app and how it plugs into the rest of your services?
Yeah, so as far as what makes it different from other retargeting apps, the way companies like AdWords and AdRoll and Criteo and some of the other guys work is you drop a pixel, and then anyone who's used that pixel, they're going to retarget them. So they don't really split out your customers who are more engaged. So basically what we found is we can generate a higher return on ad spend by targeting the customers who are showing more intent for the brand. So the way retargeting works in general is here's a pretty good example that I pulled up, but Pete visits Rad Shirts, and if he shares a totally rad shirt, then whenever he goes to his favorite sites, he's going to see banner ads that you set up in our system.
So it's totally tied to the previous, social behaviors, as opposed to just viewing.
Yes, exactly. So what we found with social in general is it's not like pay-per-click where you can just increase your bid and drive more traffic, and it's not like SEO where you can write better content and drive more links. Social is more about how it can be intertwined with your existing systems that you have in place, whether that's integrating it more into your e-commerce cart, making it a part of your retargeting strategy, or even tying it into your email. And that's really where our integrations come into place. So if you use someone like Bronto, for example, you can drop in your API token, and I'm going to go back to the Mountain Khakis example just to keep it simple, but whenever someone shares on Facebook, after they complete that share, there's this box here that's checked by default, and if they have that checked, we've captured their email, and then we can push that back into your email provider so you can start treating these customers a little different. So the way we approach social is to become that social layer that sits on top of your site, and then we help make it more social and more engaging so that you can drive greater revenue.
Good deal. So for the Y store owners out there that know that some apps can be slightly more difficult to integrate within that environment, all of the tools that you've shown are in fact compatible with the Y store. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're platform agnostic. Here's some of the ones that we have instructions for over on the right. So you would just choose your store, and then it has the instructions here, or work with your agency or developer, and they can get it up and running pretty quickly. It's pretty much all copy-paste. It's just JavaScript code and div tags that you drop directly into your template.
That's great. And for the incentive sharing, it's my understanding that it does support single-use coupons, correct? If in fact they're a pro user, they can use single-use coupons?
Yep, so under the social rewards, when you launch a new campaign, you can decide, okay, I want to do one for prepaid packages, for example, and we only want to reward it on Facebook. The reward type is a coupon code, and we'll give 5%. So from here, you can either set a static coupon, like share 5, or you can upload a bucket of coupons, and we'll show each coupon code once. And using this URL feature, you can have it only show on your cart page or specific pages that you identify here. And that's pretty much all it takes to launch these campaigns. So there's no more coding involved, and you can manage all of those social rewards from the back end.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be able to give incentives for sharing. You know, I mean, one of the things that, as I mentioned earlier, you know, the goal for all of the merchants who are probably on this call is they want to generate loyalty. And, you know, ideally, they want to engage their customers wherever their customers are. We all know kind of email has been decreasing in its effectiveness, and to some extent social is kind of picking up some of where that has left off. But it's great to see the tool helping to get a merchant to be better connected with their customers on the different channels. Kind of across the board. They're building out a profile in a sense. Makes it much easier to communicate with them. You know, one of the things we've talked about here as well is just all the points of contact. You know, you have brand points of contact, whether they're seeing you on a mobile, whether they discover you via Facebook, or whether they discover you via Twitter, or even Pinterest. It's interesting because Chad shared with us earlier, and we may, if we have time, share them a little bit, the different ROI numbers based on the social platform relative to the category of store. It was really fascinating how much variance there was there. I mean, I remember when Pinterest first came out, we had clients who were actually in home improvements, and we had seen Pinterest growing among the female population. And we were talking with this merchant, and he's like, yeah, I've been getting sales from this Pinterest thing, but I really didn't know why. What is Pinterest? And you know, recognizing there's certain markets that actually respond better in certain channels, certain mediums, social channels. And so looking at how do you create the best possible messages for those channels. I mean, even Facebook has specific photo formats and things that help edge rank stay visible longer. It looks like Chad's sharing a little bit about Home and Garden. Since I mentioned that example, you want to speak to that a little bit, Chad?
Yeah, so on our website, you can go to Addshoppers/stat, and it shows the aggregate data that we're collecting across our entire network. So up here on the left, you can choose your category. So if you're in baby and children, for example, you can select that category and see really which networks are driving revenue for everyone else across our network. So if you're in baby and children, obviously you should be spending time on Pinterest because it's 31% of all of the social sales, and Facebook is only 10% of that. But if we change this to, let's go to apparel and clothing, for example, then Facebook is 32% of social sales, and Pinterest is only 18%. So it's really about figuring out which network your customers are active on, and then which ones are going to be able to drive incremental sales back to you.
It's amazing the difference by market. But if you think about it, I mean, the way that they're used and the way that things are shared are a bit different. And so this is some really interesting data that I'm sure the attendees will want to drop into this page and kind of look at their category, try to get a sense of how closely their data or their experience matches, and also identify maybe gaps in their strategy where they may want to have a stronger, more branded, more engaging presence on Facebook, or they may need a better Pinterest strategy to help get those photos shared out there and to be engaged. But it's pretty powerful to look at the average order values and just the shares and then the actual sales that are coming from social. This is one of the tools that I've seen, one of the few tools out there, and a lot of people talk about social and it being important, but actually getting to real revenue data that social is driving for merchants. It's very, very powerful. Looks like we're getting a couple of questions. Chad, how might a store owner use this data to help drive sales? I mean, would you reach out to people with high clout scores, or should they engage with the highest referring people online? What are some of the strategies that merchants are taking this data and kind of making it actionable? Chad, you still there? You on mute?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, so one of the more passive things that you can do is launch these type of features where they share and then they get a coupon. Once you set that up, your user base kind of takes over from there. And then some of the more active things that you can do is to go inside of this influencer report, for example, and engage directly with these guys. So John, for example, we can follow him directly from here, or we can even click this picture to go directly to his Facebook page, and you can really start building relationships with these people. And then one of the other really cool things that we've seen people do is to pull this information out. So any of this can be exported to CSV or PDF, for example, and then put that back into your email provider, and then create a campaign just around these people who are out there talking about your brand. So you could do something like what we saw on this site, where each person shares and they get a coupon code, or they share and they get an entry into a contest. And then if you target those people who've already shared in the past and you know they have a following, then you're going to get a higher ROI from a campaign like that.
Great examples. Great examples. And next up, I know we may have some more questions coming in through chat here, but we do want to be sensitive to your time. Chip Oglesby, our Google certified professional, AdWords guru extraordinaire, and we have a love-hate relationship with Google. We love the fact that it delivers traffic to us. We hate that it doesn't deliver as much free traffic as it used to for our clients. But we're looking at maximizing the ROI for our merchants, and social is a way to diversify, guys. Your dependence on Google can be reduced by leveraging these social channels. And so Chip Oglesby has just a few data points to share with us on the customer journey to online purchase. Chip?
Yeah, this is one of the research pieces that Google has published. You can find it at thinkwithgoogle.com. We'll put up a short link in the chat window. But really what you want to look at here is how marketing channels affect the customer purchase decision. So when you think about how someone moves through the decision cycle from awareness to consideration to intent to decision, every one of your channels has an effect on that. So email might be a good awareness awareness channel. Paid search might be a good decision channel. And so one of the things we're looking at in particular here is the different roles, or how channels affect the customer journey. And this is specifically for retail. And so this is part of a Nielsen Norman survey that was performed during the fourth quarter of 2012. It shows here, that display advertising is a good awareness channel. And then once they start moving into consideration and intent, social becomes more important. So if you think about how people are engaging socially online, this is where it becomes really important. So people might ask, they might ask, one of John's friends might ask, hey, where could I find, a really good deal on cheap golf balls? If John is already a converting customer on your site, he might say, oh, hey, here's a coupon that you can use for lostgolfballs.com. Or, if you're someone like Simply Youth Ministry and you think, if someone is a youth pastor and they have other friends who are youth pastors as well, they're going to be engaging with their social buttons to share the products that they're looking at online. So that comes into the intent cycle. And then as we move closer to the purchase of the actual product, you can see how paid search and organic search has a larger effect on helping people make a decision. Now, this is really dependent upon your individual business and how you have your advertising channels set up. Some people have them set up to say, hey, we want you to convert the first time you visit our site. Or they might have a few channels set up for conversion on the first visit, or they might have social as a backup. Well, if you didn't purchase us, or if you didn't purchase from us today, follow us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter, because we're here to help answer questions for you. One company that I feel personally does a really good job with this is Nike. If you've ever purchased the Nike Fuel Band or gone and looked at their website before, you can see that they have a very active help audience online for their Twitter channels. So this is something that you just want to keep in mind when you're planning your social media strategies.
Yeah, it's really pretty fascinating when you look at it that way. I mean, because a lot of times merchants will think of that display click that's pretty far out the path of purchase as, they'll look at that as a short-term ROI piece. When a lot of the time that is a longer-term investment. I mean, so, one of the dangers that we've seen sometimes in ad campaigns is that, especially new brands that don't have any reputation, that don't really have any trust or credibility built, it takes a while to build that trust, to have that credibility, and for them to actually see your brand and begin to remember your brand. If you think about how much Nike has spent to build the community that's around the fuel product or the Nike Plus, over the number of years, it's actually a community, that's built around an interest that has a merchandising element to it. They of course sell more shoes and more chips and those kinds of things. But it's interesting to look at the different points on the scale in awareness, consideration, intent, and then the decision. And being able to engage them at all the different kind of points on the continuum at the right time, the right message at the right time, is just such a key. Wouldn't you say, Chad and Grant, as well? Yeah, I know Chip and I have looked at this a lot with clients, and leveraging. I mean, even the concept of. This actually does not necessarily have product listing advertising on the continuum, but the fact that organic search or a paid display click that is not a shopper looking for product has a much lower conversion rate than someone who is actually hitting, for instance, Google Shopping or one of the shopping comparison search engines. And so moving closer to that intent and helping to engage at the right time in the process, is just so key. And on the channel that they're actually paying attention on, it's key. And we, everyone, shoppers and merchants included, we all have information overload. So there's the challenge of timing, the right message at the right time. But I know it's interesting for us as we look at our email data. We're MailChimpers on our email, and we send out a weekend journal trying to provide some useful links to help our merchants and friends in the marketplace learn trends and opportunities that are out there. It's fascinating for me to see who's opening and to see how consistently they open, because that's an interesting loyalty mark that you begin to see of, and even, this is not a MailChimp piece, but they have golden monkeys of the people who are fans, essentially, of yours, whether they're fans on Facebook or not, that actually consistently open what you send them. And in this day and age, I mean, if you've got a pretty good open rate, you've got a pretty good click-through rate on your emails, you're doing pretty well.
Right.
It's getting to be rarer and rarer, isn't it, Chip?
Right. Well, I think that the data that's available in Addshoppers is invaluable. You know, coming from someone who's a former social media manager, you know, the biggest question was always, who should we follow? You know, we get hundreds of people that follow us every day, but, you know, who do we need to be talking to? You know, so being able to go in and look at Addshoppers and say, oh, hey, this person actually is very influential because they can share a link and we got 12 purchases from this, or we actually know this person buys a lot from us. That, for a business owner, is so invaluable. It's something so important to have. Because when you think of the model of buy again, and then tell their friends, that's where that information becomes critical, because that lets you start building relationships with some of your highest converting people, especially online, where word of mouth is so much more valuable than any of these other channels can be.
Well, it's a personal reference almost, you know, especially in the social channels. You know, it's I know folks out there, you may have some questions at this point, and we're sensitive to the quarter of the hour time. Love to be able to cover any questions that you have about social, return on investment, or the Addshoppers tool set. It's really pretty fascinating tool set, Chad. I really appreciate you sharing that. And the retargeting piece is fascinating for us because we've seen retargeting to be quite successful for our merchants in some of our marketing experiments. Some folks kind of consider it kind of like you're being stalked by ads. You know, it's like, oh man, I was over there and now they're following me around. But it actually does help reinforce the brand and the purchase. And so it looks like we might have a couple questions here that we can touch on. I cannot see the question, Grant, so if you can drop us the question in here, I can read it out and let the guys answer it. Chad, any thoughts you'd like to add while we're getting the questions bubbled up out of the questions area?
I think the biggest problem that we see or that retailers are having now is just with adjusting to the latest Google changes, and then how does social sort of impact SEO, and how do we find other channels outside of just relying on Google Organic or watching pay-per-click spend continue to go up. So I think it's just important to start exploring other things. We're still kind of in the early days of social. If you look at your total revenue, it's probably only 5 to 10% of your total revenue, but that number does continue to increase. And the more you can figure out how to take advantage of social, it's one of the only free traffic sources that are left. So while it's still free, if you take the time to invest and build up a user base around these, you not only get the added SEO benefit, but you also build up a more long-term user base, you know, more engaged audience than just people who are on Google searching for things.
That's the truth. That's good. That's a good point, Chad. Question, will the share a coupon work in a Yahoo store checkout if the customer also has another coupon? If they have a coupon enabled, will it override the original coupon? Kind of a Yahoo store specific question. I know we may have folks with other platforms on the call today, but a lot of our clients are Yahoo stores, Yahoo merchants. Chad, what's the kind of the protocol for that as it goes through the cart?
Yeah, it really depends how you have the coupon set up inside of your Yahoo store. You can either make it so they can only use one coupon at a time, or you can allow them to stack coupons. So that's just a setting that you would define whenever you set up the coupon inside of the Yahoo store.
Good answer. Good answer. And then a question, and this is probably something that folks have been wondering, how much does Addshoppers cost? I know there's several different layers, several different levels. We may want to pass it back over to Chad. I know we're looking at Chip's screen now because he may have that handy.
Yeah, let me pull up the pricing page here.
We have been pleasantly surprised at the entry points for Addshoppers. We recognize, especially post-Penguin and Panda, a lot of our merchants are looking for ways to make the dollars go further and to deliver better ROI. And it's exciting to see the tool set that they put together and what we feel like is a very competitive price point for the value that it's providing.
Yeah, it looks like the go-to meeting dropped out on me, but the pricing starts at $99 a month if you get less than 100,000 visitors to your store each month, and then it scales up from there. So we have a free community version for stores that get less than 10,000 visitors, and if you get anywhere from 10,000 up to 100,000 visitors, then it would be $99 a month.
Wow, for under $100 a month. That's amazing. It's amazing tool set, and it puts some pretty powerful tools in your toolkit to get social traffic and social engagement, as well as even upselling with the coupons a part of the store. It's pretty amazing. Another question: does Addshoppers plug into Google Analytics?
Yep. So there's a setting in the back end. Whenever you're configuring your account, you just drop in your UAID. And then as people are sharing and interacting with the button, all of that data is going to be pushed back into Google Analytics. And we also have some integrations for Omniture if anyone uses Omniture.
That's great. Got to have good data. You know, and one of the things that we've been really focusing on for our clients this quarter is what we call the Google Analytics home run. You know, being able to have webmaster tools, AdWords, and analytics tied together properly. It's interesting, even some of the merchants that we've worked with that are pretty sharp with some of their analytics have not been hitting the home run. They've only been getting a single or a double. And so making sure those three pieces play well together and are connected, as well as that we're measuring return on ad spend through the other channels, is one of the things that Chip has been involved with a lot of our clients working with this first quarter of 2014. And you know, I mean, when you come down to it, and you're trying to utilize the resources that you have, you've got to leverage the intelligence that's there, and you got to be able to trust your data. And so that's one of the pieces that we've been working with the Google Analytics home run. We've got a couple blog posts that we may share for you guys to understand what that means and how important that is, as well as the Addshoppers information as well. Looks like that's about it for questions now. Anything from presenters before we wrap and let our attendees go? We do very much appreciate the opportunity today to share with you Addshoppers and ideas on how to maximize social media ROI. Anything from the presenters?
I appreciate the time, guys.
Great presentation today. Appreciate you sharing the tool set. And Grant Henry was having some audio difficulty. So he was hosting with us and then had to drop out for just a second. So Grant, thanks for hosting with us today and the information shared as well. And FastPivot, we appreciate you joining us today. We'll be having more webinars like this on different topics that hopefully will bring value to you and the people that you're serving. And so we love serving good people growing great businesses that make a difference. And if you're on this call, I hope you're in that category, because we like helping extend your brand message and how different you are to the rest of the world out there, and hopefully doing good things with all the money that you're making, helping to make the world a better place. And so this is Matt Ledford with FastPivot, signing off for measuring and maximizing social media ROI for FastPivot and Addshoppers. Thanks, Chad. Thanks, Grant. Thanks, Chip. Great webinar. Appreciate it today.